Lars, morning or afternoon, I guess. Something I was going to ask you about last night I didn't get to was Andrew Peak fighting Janat last night. I think it's his second fight of the year for Peak. Um, what did you think of that whole thing as far as his? I mean, he has really stepped up his physicality this year. I'm sure you'd like to see that. Where are you with him fighting this? Like, in NHL games against guys who might be a little more experienced in that area of the game.
Well, it's hockey, and until they take fighting out, that's kind of part of it, right? I want Peaker to play a real assertive, aggressive style of play, and when you do that, sometimes it finds you. And I thought he answered the bell. It was great, and it's not that you condone fighting. It's just that's part of what the NHL is. It's still in it, and until they change that rule, fighting is part of this game. He as long as he's playing physical and assertive every shift, every game. And I think he's brought that. That's one thing he's really concentrated on. I think he's been real consistent in that. And I think that's a big part of when he's playing at his best. What I loved about it, he answered the bell. It was great for our bench. And then he played the same physical brand the rest of the game. He didn't shy away from it. He came right after it. And he had a couple good hits right after that. So I think this is part of his development in understanding what he is and what style he needs to play. So I've been really happy to see he's been consistent in that area.
Is there a way that you can? I guess you can't really practice fighting in practice. That'd be interesting. But there's got to be a way. There ways that with guys who are more experienced at that he could work with maybe to get better at that area. Not that he's bad, but you know what I'm saying. To maybe not take as many. He took a big shot last night. Looked like.
Yeah, well, it's like anything. You got to work at it to get better at it, and we used to do that. We used to work at it after practice, like just grapple it, and you wouldn't necessarily punch each other in the face, but you learn different type techniques and different things. And we have a pretty good guy in our staff that might be able to help him out, Jared Bull.
Yep.
He's a guy that I think guys should seek out a little bit, just for it. You got to feel it. You got to feel what it looks like to tie up and be able to protect yourself and get comfortable in a fight. And especially if you square off, or sometimes it happens fast. There's lots of different scenarios. So Jared's a guy that definitely could help these guys out in that area.
Yeah, and you guys ended up with a power play out of that situation last night too. So
yeah, they. Well, he came in and gave Peaker a shot, and again, I don't know if they were going to call it originally, and they ended up calling it, but it is what it is. It's worked out in our favor for sure.
Thanks.
Next, we'll go to Aaron Portzline. Go ahead, Aaron.
Thanks, Madison. Morning, Brad.
Morning.
You know what it's like to be in this league and to try to establish yourself as a guy who's willing to fight. You had, if memory serves, the couple fights a year in the role that you played. How tough is that to establish yourself at first, and how much respect do you have for what Andrew Peak may be going through?
It's one of those things, like a lot of these guys come here, and now we're not ignorant here. Like fighting's worked its way out of the game quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's still some fights, but back when I came in, you're a top scorer in your team, and not necessarily didn't fight much in junior, maybe a handful of times. But then when I got to the American League, when I got my first ever pro game, there was 37 fights and 3 line brawls, and that was in the American League against Philly, and fought 2 times and almost a third. And the next night was against Syracuse. There was 9 fights, and I was like, holy smokes, and so you're trying to grow yourself as a player, because in the Colorado organization, to make that lineup, you weren't getting ahead of Forsberg or Sakic or all these Hall of Famers. So I had Bob Hartley, and he was very clear on what my path was going to look like. So you had to learn how to do it. We used to work on it after practice. I had Dan Heinrich on my team, and we used to, pretend fight each other and just work on holds. So really, you got to expand your game. If you're not a guy who's going to be an offensive guy, the more you can add to your toolbox. It's no different than a forward. If you can get better at be a penalty killer, if maybe you're a scorer, or be better in the faceoff circle. If you can bring an edge to your game, you're probably gonna have to answer the bell once in a while. So it's all these things that help grow your game and just add to your, I guess, your toolbox.
You also had Scott Parker on those teams. Did you practice with him at all?
No, I wouldn't. Never. I was smart enough to make sure he was my line mate for a lot of it. So I had Peter Worrell, who was 6'8", and Scott Parker on my other side, and they told me to just try and stir it up a little bit. So
Yeah,
I was in good hands there.
those are good guys to have around.
Just as well.
How effective did you think Corrali was last night, especially early? That's a team, Nashville, that sort of demands a physical response, I think, with their play.
Yeah, they're a big team. They're, you see how they're built. Even that third line that they trust with Jeannot and Trennan, those two big guys that move up and down the ice, play physical every shift. Even Cousins undersized, but he's a pesky player, and they're got Borowicki, they got Harper. They have some big guys, and you have to take them head on. So I thought our guys did a good job. It's every game, we want to be as physical as the game, I guess, calls for. We want to be competitive at the puck. Sometimes that's more hitting. Sometimes it's more just one-on-one puck battles. But we need to be competitive at the puck every game for us to have any kind of success.
Yeah, I don't think this organization has ever played a New Year's Day game, 1:00 tomorrow. That kind of ruins New Year's Eve, does it not, for you and the guys? And what's your message to the guys on the way out of the rink tonight?
In bed by 8:30, so it doesn't ruin my night at all. I think it's perfect. You know what? These guys are pros. They understand. I mean, it is what it is. It's New Year's is, especially now with COVID and different things going on. I don't think it's much of a sacrifice this year at all.
All right, thanks, Brett.
Next we'll go to Dave Menzel. Go ahead.
Did we mute Dave?
Hey, there we go. There we go.
Uh,
I know you got your finger on that mute button, Brad.
No, that was, she did that. That wasn't me.
All right. All right. The contrast between last night's game with Nashville and the one a month ago was pretty obvious. And how much of that was based on your compete level and your battle level? And how much has that improved in that month? And how much do you think you still need to pay attention to that every day?
Well, we got a long ways to go there. It's not like we had two stellar first two periods either. I understand that. I think, again, there's a lot of reasons why we weren't at our best early there. I mean, and the reality was we hadn't played in 2 weeks, and they had a game under their belt. And like we said, going into it, we knew they're on a back-to-back, but they also got to kick the rust off. And so we were, struggling to make real simple plays, and, that getting into the bump and grind, those intense one-on-one battles, you get overextended on a shift here and there and catching your breath, all those things you got to go through. You can't simulate practice. You try to, but we only had 4 days. So, we were really hoping as a staff that we could keep it. We kept it within a goal, plus or minus. You felt like hopefully by the third, you could find your legs a little bit, knock that rust off. And I believe that was our best period. The third period of that overtime, we did a really good job. So, we got better as the game went along, which was a good sign. And, but to win in this league, you gotta bring it every night. You see who we're playing tomorrow. This is a team that's deep, 4 lines, 60. They got good goaltending, special teams. There's not a weakness here. So if you're not skating, you're not competitive. It's going to be a long night, and we're going to have to answer the bell in all areas there.
It seemed like last night, especially when they got the 2 quick ones there near the end of the second, you guys gathered yourselves and got back to a game that allowed you to be successful. And how much of that was based on, again, being competitive and winning the battles that you had to win once you got the rust knocked off?
Well, the big thing is keeping it at 1 goal before we got to the third. They get 2 quick ones there, and we had lost ourselves, and got through that period. And we had a pretty good talk there between the second and third, and just about up in the ante a little bit on the competitive side, and because there was another level. Even rust is one thing. Like, you're going to have some rust, but we can't have non-competitive. You can't have that tenacity, that the pace that we're going to need to play at. And so, kind of talked about, raising the bar there and see where we could get to in that period. And it started to come in that third. It was much better.
Thanks.
Next, we'll go to Jeff Sabota. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Lars. Just wanted to ask about Boone, and he's a guy that, missed a couple of days of practice. I think only had one practice before he gets back out there. But then first 10 minutes, he's got a mark on his face and he's got a goal. I mean, this is a guy that just kind of rolls out of bed and plays hockey. Just how nice is that he's a guy that you really don't have to worry about, but just that his ability to just go in and even though he wasn't going through the whole practice with you guys, he was there from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, he's a captain for a reason, right? And it's those intangibles and the things that he cares about and values as a teammate, getting in the dirty areas. Again, you see where he scores. He just goes to the net, and I think he's got 12 in the year now. I don't. If you add up the distance from the goal line on all 12 goals, it might be like 3 feet. Everything's right there. It's so that's where goals are scored. It's he's split open pretty good there from like an errant elbow or something hit him in the head. And, that's just Boone. That's what he does, what he brings. It doesn't phase him. He doesn't make excuses for anything. He just comes and plays. He's a hockey player. He's a true hockey player. And it was a big lift for us to get that goal. And he led us. And, he makes a big play even on the second goal. Makes a nice play on the entry there. So, Boone was a big spark for us.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll end with Ryan Hunter. Go ahead,
Hey, yeah, I know you're not the goalie coach, so we'll ask you technical stuff about Elvis. But goalies obviously coming off long breaks. That's often a recipe for disaster for a lot of guys. What'd you think of Elvis last night? Looked like he made a number of big saves for you guys. How nice was it to see him? Looked like he played pretty well last night.
Yeah. Like all of us. The second goal. I don't think he liked it. I don't need to be a goalie coach to think that was a goal he'd want back for sure. But again, you have practice, you do some scrimmaging, but then there's the pace of a game that's much different, and things are coming at you. There's more traffic. There's all those things. So I thought he did a good job battling through it, and he came with some really big saves there. We needed some timely saves, and obviously in the shootout, he makes a big save when we needed to get the extra point there. So he was like all of us. We're trying to kick the rust off and get back to your a game where you feel comfortable.